What?
Moving on, I have noticed watching you on Instagram Live that you've got this habit of like just throwing leaves together and coming up with your own little blends, and you go, what the hell? And there's nothing really snobby about you. You're not a tea snob. So you have this hunting down tea origins, you have this mind that you want to know how, where, what. But in your words, terror and tea flights were kind of my thing now. Do you remember? And finding unifying threads also my thing now. So do you feel as a purist at heart or a blender by accident?
If I remember correctly, that was from the blog I did on the archive.
Yes, I'm not too sure.
Yeah. That was when I was trying coffees and teas grown in the same garden, and trying to find the unifying thread between them and see if I could spot it through the processing and whatnot. I would not say that I am a good blender at all. In fact, I have confirmation bias that I am not a good blender, because not last year, 2 years ago, I tried to make my own blends to give to people for Christmas, and the only person that confirmed to have liked any of them was my mother, and I think she was just being kind because she was my mother. My brother basically was, even said as much. He was just like, "Yeah, this didn't work. I hate to tell you this," and I'm just like, "No, please tell me if it didn't work." So I took them back from him. I enjoyed them quite a bit, but I think even though I was trying to develop blends to cater to other people's profiles, I was not very good at it because I was still hinged upon my own subjective palate. And so I would not call myself a good blender.
What was it? Mixed smoked tea with Darjeeling. And then, this was the blog. Then you detailed your path of ultimately finding a micro farm of smoked teas in Darjeeling. Do you remember that?
That wasn't an Instagram Live. In fact, when I did that by accident, this predated Instagram by a good 2 or 3 years. That was, I basically took, I think it was a Rishi Hot First Flush, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I'd have to look at the notes again. Sorry if I don't remember exactly what Darjeeling was. But I put it in a do-it-yourself tea bag, and I stuck it in a canister, forgetting. Well, the first time I forgot that there was some Lapsang Souchong in there. And then when I took it out the next day and realized that it was a lapsang, I just thought, let's just leave it in there for a week and see what happens. And so, kind of like a ghetto version of a jasmine green tea. That same process where they do the hoop nets and the flowers and then do the separation. And it was kind of like that, only with smoke. And it turned out okay, but when I finally found out that there was a small garden that worked with the same group that is responsible for the small Darjeeling I'm having right now, when I found out that there was a small garden that had a processing unit that were doing smoked Darjeelings, I was floored by this because I'd been wanting somebody to make a smoked Darjeeling for years. Oh, yeah, I got my hands on... I'd been getting my hands on that tea for years, but I didn't do a feature on it until this year. And I had a first flush, a second flush, and then an autumn flush from the prior year to sort of round out the narrative.
So, like I say, you like to mix it up, have fun with tea, but there is this investigative side to you, isn't there?
And that's been coming out more lately. I didn't think that was a thing that I liked doing until recently, and I think that sort of answers a bit of why I didn't write nearly as much in 2018 as I did years prior, because I kept on taking on these personal assignments that required more research. I did this thing, even though I had 3 teas and I could have just written a feature on those 3 teas and called it a day. I wanted to investigate the origin of the cultivar that they were made of, and that took on a life of its own. And that investigation was cut short because another blogging compatriot had already gone down that rabbit hole. And so I incorporated his research, gave him credit for what he had done there, and then came up with my own conspiracy theory as to how a sort of hodgepodge cultivar, air quotes, came to be.